The first radio signal from Earth had been drifting through space for over a century before anyone noticed them. Deep in the void between star systems, automated listening posts belonging to the Galactic Council finally picked up the weak transmissions. The signals were crude and primitive, filled with noise and interference, but they carried something the galaxy had not heard in 10,000 years, the voice of a new species trying to reach the stars. The discovery sent ripples through the council chambers on the ancient world of Prime. 12 different alien races sat in the great circular hall where they had governed the galaxy for millennia. The Valorians with their proud warrior heritage, the crystalline Nexari, who communicated through light patterns, the collective-minded hive, who spoke as one voice, and 9 other species who had long ago learned to live in harmony under council law. Elder Thane of the Valorians was the first to speak. His scaled face showed concern as he studied the data on the massive holographic display. The radio signals painted a picture of a world called Earth, third planet from a yellow star, inhabited by bipedal creatures who called themselves humans. The signals revealed a species that had developed technology rapidly, but seemed unable to stop fighting among themselves. These creatures broadcast their wars to the stars, Thane said, his voice echoing in the chamber. They speak of weapons that can destroy entire cities, of conflicts that span their globe. They have barely left their own world, yet they already threaten each other with extinction. The Nexari representative pulsed with soft blue light, their form of communication translated by the Council's universal systems. Perhaps they are simply young. All species go through difficult periods before reaching maturity. We should evaluate them properly before making any decisions. But as the Council studied more transmissions over the following months, their concern grew into alarm. The humans were not just violent. They seemed to celebrate it. Their entertainment was filled with war and conflict. Their history was an endless cycle of battles and conquests. They had split their own atom not for energy, but first for weapons. Even their sports were often combat, by another name. The hive spoke with its 1,000 voices in perfect unison. This species shows all the signs of plague race. They consume resources without thought. They fight endlessly, and they breed rapidly. If they reach the stars, they will spread like a disease through the galaxy. The Council had seen plague races before, though not for millennia. Species so aggressive and destructive that they threatened all life around them. The ancient record spoke of the Dark Ages, when such races had nearly destroyed galactic civilization before being stopped. The Council existed partly to ensure such horrors never happen again. Elder Thane studied the data more carefully. Human populations were exploding across their world. Their industrial output grew every year, leaving scars on their planet that could be seen from space. They had weapons capable of ending all life on their world, yet they continued to build more. Everything about them screamed danger. "We must act," Thane declared. "This species must be contained before they develop faster than light travel. Once they reach the stars, it may be too late to stop them." The decision to quarantine Earth was not made lightly. The Council spent months debating alternatives. Some suggested limited contact, trying to guide humanity toward a more peaceful path. Others proposed waiting to see if humans would mature on their own. But in the end, the evidence was too overwhelming. Humanity was simply too dangerous to be allowed into galactic civilization. The quarantine fleet that arrived at Earth's solar system was massive. Ships from all 12 Council races, carrying technology that humans could not even begin to understand. The fleet took position around the entire solar system, not just Earth itself. If humanity was to be contained, it would be completely contained. The barrier they erected was a marvel of Council engineering. An energy field that surrounded the entire system, invisible to most detection methods, but absolutely impermeable. Nothing could enter or leave. No ship, no signal. No particle of matter could cross the barrier in either direction. Earth and its solar system became a prison with energy walls. But the Council believed in fairness, even when dealing with dangerous species. They sent a single ship through the barrier before it was fully activated. The ship landed on Earth in a demonstration that left no doubt about the visitors' technological superiority. They chose a landing site visible to human satellites and cameras, ensuring the entire world would witness what happened next. The alien ambassadors who emerged from the ship were unlike anything humans had ever imagined. Tall beings with skin like polished metal. They moved with grace that seemed impossible for creatures so large. They spoke to human representatives through translation devices that converted their words into every human language simultaneously. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council," the lead ambassador announced to the assembled human delegates and reporters. "We have been watching your species and have reached a decision about your future." The humans who stood before them were trembling, not from cold but from the weight of the moment. These were diplomats and scientists, the best humanity had to offer, but they felt like children before these ancient beings. "Your species has been evaluated according to the standards that govern all civilized life in this galaxy," the ambassador continued. "You have been found lacking in the wisdom and restraint necessary for membership in galactic civilization." The human representatives tried to speak, to argue, to plead their case, but the ambassador held up a hand for silence. "Your species wages war upon itself while possessing weapons of mass destruction. You consume the resources of your world without thought for the future. You show no signs of the cooperation and peace that mark a mature civilization. Most concerning of all, you display the aggressive expansion tendencies that mark what we call plague races." President Williams of the old United Nations stepped forward. "Please, we can change. We can learn. Many of us are already working toward peace. Give us a chance to prove ourselves." The ambassador's expression did not change. "Our decision is final. Your species will remain confined to the solar system until such time as you demonstrate the wisdom necessary for galactic citizenship. This may take centuries, millennia, or may never occur at all." "You're imprisoning our entire species," Dr. Sarachin protested. She was one of Earth's leading scientists, and her voice shook with anger. "How is that justice?" "It is not justice," the ambassador replied calmly. "It is necessity. Your species represents a threat to billions of lives throughout the galaxy. We cannot allow that threat to spread." The ambassador gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing the barrier that now surrounded their solar system. "This field will prevent any travel beyond your system's edge. Your radio signals will no longer reach the stars. You are cut off in the galaxy until you prove yourselves worthy of rejoining it. And if we never meet your standards," Williams asked quietly, "then you will remain here forever." The aliens departed as quickly as they had arrived, leaving humanity alone with the crushing weight of galactic rejection. As their ship disappeared beyond the barrier, every human on Earth felt the walls of their cosmic prison closing around them. The news spread across the world within hours. Humanity had made first contact with galactic civilization and been found wanting. They were not just alone in the universe. They were actively rejected by it. The barrier around their solar system was not just a prison. It was a statement. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed among the stars. Some humans despaired, believing their species was doomed to remain trapped forever, but others felt something different stirring in their hearts. Anger, determination, the stubborn human refusal to accept defeat even when facing impossible odds. Marcus Reed was one of those humans, standing in his laboratory that night. Looking up at stars he could no longer reach, he made a quiet promise to himself and to his species. The galaxy thought humanity was too dangerous to be free. They were about to discover just how right they were. 50 years had passed since the day the aliens locked humanity inside their own solar system. 50 years of staring at an invisible wall that kept them from the stars. But those 50 years had changed humanity in ways the Galactic Council never expected. The old world of competing nations and endless conflicts was gone. When faced with imprisonment by an alien power, humans had done something remarkable. They had united, not through conquest or force, but through necessity and shared purpose. The artificial borders that had divided Earth for centuries dissolved almost overnight. Resources that had once been hoarded by individual countries now flowed freely to wherever they were needed most. Marcus Reed stood in the central laboratory of the Global Research Complex, built where Geneva once housed much smaller international organizations. He was older now, his hair gray and his face lined with decades of hard work, but his eyes still burned with the same fire that had driven him since the day of exile. Around him, The greatest minds from every corner of Earth worked toward a single goal that had consumed humanity for half a century. Status report. Marcus called out to the team of scientists and engineers spread across the vast laboratory floor. The space was larger than several football fields, filled with equipment that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Elena Martinez looked up from her quantum mechanics station. She had been barely out of graduate school when the barrier went up, but now she was one of Earth's leading experts on subspace physics. The quantum tunneling experiments are showing promise. We've managed to phase small particles through dimensional barriers for up to 3 seconds. David Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he emerged from beneath a massive fusion reactor. His team had been working for months to perfect a drive system that would make Council technology look primitive. The new fusion drives are testing at 97% efficiency. We're generating more power than anything the aliens showed us, and we're doing it in half the space. Captain Torres reviewed tactical displays at her command station. She had started as a simple Air Force pilot, but the new unified Earth had needed people who understood warfare on a scale never before imagined. Fleet construction is ahead of schedule. We'll have our first 100 ships ready for testing within the year. Marcus nodded, but his attention was focused on the largest display in the center of the laboratory. It showed the barrier that surrounded their solar system, analyzed and studied in detail that the Council never imagined humans could achieve. For 50 years, every human effort had been directed at understanding their prison. The breakthrough had come not from trying to smash through the barrier, but from understanding how it worked. The Council's technology was based on manipulating subspace, folding reality to create walls where none should exist. It was elegant and effective, the product of thousands of years of development. But humans approached the problem differently. Where the Council saw barriers to be maintained, humans saw puzzles to be solved. Where aliens had perfected one method of faster-than-light travel, humans had discovered 17 different theoretical approaches, and were working on making all of them reality. "Show me the dimensional phase results again," Marcus said to Elena. The display changed to show her latest experiments. Elena had discovered that reality had more layers than the Council understood. While alien technology manipulated the upper levels of subspace, there were deeper dimensions that their sensors couldn't even detect. It was like trying to stop someone from entering a building by locking the front door, while never noticing the basement entrance. "We can't punch through their barrier," Elena explained for the 100th time to the gathered team. "But we don't need to. We can step around it through dimensions they don't know exist." The first successful test had happened 6 months ago. A probe the size of a basketball had successfully phased through the barrier and transmitted data from outside the solar system before returning. The information it brought back had changed everything. David pulled up stellar charts on his display. The probe confirmed what we suspected. There are hundreds of inhabited systems within 50 light-years of Earth. The Council isn't just big, it's massive. Billions of aliens living on thousands of worlds. All of them completely undefended. Torres added with a grin that would have terrified any Council member who saw it. Their military technology is thousands of years out of date. They've been at peace so long they've forgotten how to fight. Marcus studied the data with the cold calculation that had made him humanity's unofficial leader. The Council had made a critical error in their evaluation of humanity. They had seen human aggression and warfare as primitive savagery, signs of an undeveloped species. They had never considered that those same traits might be exactly what was needed to survive in a hostile universe. "They're soft," Marcus said quietly. 10,000 years of peace have made them weak. They think superior technology makes them invincible, but technology is only as good as the people using it. The laboratory fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Humanity had spent 50 years building weapons and ships designed for a war against impossible odds. They had assumed they would be facing enemies with better technology, superior numbers, and thousands of years of military experience. Instead, they had found a galaxy full of bureaucrats and merchants who had forgotten that peace was only possible when someone was strong enough to enforce it. Elena brought up new schematics on her display. The dimensional phase drive is ready for full-scale testing. We can build them into our ships and make them completely invisible to Council sensors. They won't even know we exist until we want them to. How many ships can we phase at once?" Torres asked. "All of them," David answered. The drive doesn't just hide individual ships. It can create dimensional bubbles large enough for entire fleets. We could move 1,000 ships through council space, and they would never detect us. Marcus walked to the great window that looked out over the construction yards, where humanity's secret fleet was taking shape. The ships were like nothing ever built before, designed by people who knew they might have to fight the entire galaxy. They were built for war, but war fought with human cunning rather than alien honor. Begin Phase 2 of the plan, Marcus ordered. Launch the scout ships. I want detailed maps of every council system within 100 light years. Find me worlds they've abandoned, systems they consider worthless, dead space where we can build without being noticed. Torres smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. And if we encounter council patrols? Avoid them if possible. Study them if necessary. But under no circumstances are they to know we exist. Not yet. The first scout ship launched 3 days later. The sleek vessel simply vanished as it activated its dimensional phase drive, slipping through the barrier like it didn't exist. For the crew aboard, it felt like stepping through a curtain. One moment they were inside humanity's prison. The next they were free among the stars. What they found out there exceeded every expectation. The Council controlled systems spanning a quarter of the galaxy, but their control was lazy and complacent. Most systems had minimal defenses, often just automated beacons to warn off unauthorized ships. Their patrol routes were predictable, following patterns established centuries ago and never changed. More importantly, the galaxy was full of places the Council considered worthless. Dead systems with no habitable planets, asteroid fields with dangerous radiation, nebulae that interfered with their sensors. To the Council, these were obstacles to be avoided. To humans, they were opportunities. Within a year, the first secret human colony was established in a system the Council had marked as uninhabitable. The star was dying, filling the space around it with radiation that would kill most alien species. But humans had learned to live in hostile environments long before they reached the stars. They built their colony in the radiation shadow of a dead planet, invisible to any casual scan. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the colony ship as it approached their new home. The irony was not lost on him. The Council had imprisoned humanity to keep them from spreading through the galaxy. Instead, they had given humans 50 years to prepare for exactly that kind of expansion. Sir, Elena called from her station. We're receiving signals from the 2nd and 3rd Scout groups. They found suitable locations for colonies in the Outer Rim. How many potential sites? Marcus asked. Over 300 systems that meet our criteria. Dead or hostile environments that the Council ignores, but perfectly suitable for human colonization with our technology. Marcus nodded slowly. The Council had made another mistake in their evaluation of humanity. They saw a species that had ruined its own world through industry and warfare. They never realized that those same traits had taught humans to survive anywhere, to adapt to any challenge, and to thrive in conditions that would destroy other species. Begin colonization protocol, Marcus ordered. Establish bases in 50 systems to start. Focus on mining operations and industrial development. I want shipyards in every dead system and factories on every airless moon. David looked up from his engineering displays. The new fusion drives are testing beyond all projections. Our ships are faster than anything the Council uses, and we're building them in conditions they can't even survive in. Good, Marcus replied, because in 20 years, when we're ready to announce ourselves to the galaxy, I want them to discover that the species they thought they had safely locked away has been living next door the entire time. Torres studied tactical projections on her screens. They're going to be very unhappy when they find out. Marcus smiled for the first time in months. It was not a kind expression. Let them be unhappy. They had 50 years to treat us as equals. Instead, they chose to make us their enemies. Now they get to live with the consequences of that choice. Outside the colony ship's windows, construction began on humanity's first interstellar outpost. It would not be their last. Admiral Kane floated in the zero-gravity command center of the human stealth ship Shadow, watching displays that showed dozens of star systems where no human should exist. 30 years had passed since the first scout ship slipped through the Council's barrier, and in that time humanity had built an empire in the darkness between stars. The shadow hung invisible in the void between two Council patrol routes, its dimensional phase drive making it undetectable to any alien sensor. Around Kane, her crew monitored communications from a dozen different species, tracking fleet movements and trade patterns with the patience of predators studying their prey. Status report from Sector 7 called Lieutenant Brooks from his intelligence station. His console displayed information gathered from human colonies scattered across 300 star systems, all of them hidden in places the Council considered worthless or impossible to survive. The mining operation in the Blighted Nebula is ahead of schedule, Brooks continued. They've extracted enough rare metals to build 50 more ships this month. The radiation that kills Council species makes the asteroids they're incredibly rich in heavy elements. Kane nodded, studying the tactical display that showed the true scope of humanity's secret expansion. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue lines showed supply routes, and green indicators revealed shipyards and manufacturing centers. To any Council observer, these systems appeared empty and lifeless. In reality, they house millions of humans and produce warships faster than any civilization in galactic history. What about our intelligence operations? Kane asked. Commander Lisa Park looked up from her xenology station, where she had spent years studying intercepted Council communications. We have detailed profiles on all 12 Council species. The Valorians are proud warriors, but they follow ancient codes of honor that make them predictable. They announce their attacks days in advance and always fight fair battles. The crystalline Nexari are technological masters, Park continued, but are physically fragile. They rely entirely on automated defenses and have no experience with hand-to-hand combat. Their ships are beautiful, but built for show rather than actual fighting. Kane walked to the observation window, looking out at a star system that officially belonged to the Hive Collective. 3 planets in this system hosted major Council cities, but they had no idea that human mining stations operated on the dark sides of their outer moons. Tell me about the Hive, Kane said. They're the most dangerous because they work as one mind, Park replied. But that unity is also their weakness. They can't adapt quickly to unexpected situations because every decision has to be approved by the collective consciousness. They're powerful but predictable. The truth was that none of the Council species understood warfare the way humans did. 10,000 years of peace had made them soft and complacent. Their military technology was advanced but outdated, designed for ceremonial purposes rather than actual combat. They had forgotten that peace was only possible when someone was ready to fight for it. Kane studied reports from human colonies throughout the galaxy. The Frost Station operated inside a comet cloud that would freeze any Council species solid. The Furnace colony thrived on a planet so close to its star that the surface temperature could melt lead. The Deep Dark Outpost was built in a system where the star had died millions of years ago, leaving only radiation and darkness that would terrify most aliens. Humans had learned to live everywhere the Council couldn't. They built cities and asteroid fields, underwater colonies on toxic worlds, and space stations in the hearts of nebulae. Each colony was invisible to Council sensors and completely self-sufficient. Incoming message from Earth, Brooks announced. Admiral Marcus wanted a full status report. Kane activated the quantum communicator, one of humanity's greatest achievements during their exile. The device could send messages instantly across any distance using dimensional folding, making their scattered empire as connected as if all colonies were on the same world. Marcus appeared on a holographic display, older now but still carrying the same determination that had driven humanity for 8 decades. Behind him, Kane could see the massive orbital shipyards that surrounded Earth, hidden within the barrier that was supposed to keep humans imprisoned. Report, Admiral. Marcus said simply. Phase 3 is complete, Kane replied. We have established permanent colonies in 412 star systems. Industrial output is at maximum capacity. We are building ships faster than we can train crews to operate them. What about Council activity? Minimal and predictable. Their patrol routes haven't changed in 50 years. They conduct routine surveys of inhabited systems, but ignore anything they consider dangerous or worthless. They have no idea we exist. Marcus nodded slowly. And our tactical assessment? Kane exchanged glances with her senior staff before answering. Sir, with respect, calling a war would be generous to the Council. Their combined fleets couldn't stop a single human battle group. They have numbers, but they're spread across thousands of systems with no central coordination. Most of their ships are transports and scientific vessels with token defensive capabilities. They do have some dedicated warships, Commander Park added, but they're designed for fighting other Council species who follow the same rules of engagement. Honored duels between single ships, formal declarations of hostilities, battles that last for days while both sides maneuver for advantage. Kane pulled up tactical displays showing human military doctrine compared to Council warfare. They fight like it's a sport with rules and referees. We fight like our survival depends on winning quickly and completely. The difference was staggering. Council military encounters were ritualized affairs where opposing fleets would arrange formal battle lines, exchange challenges, and fight according to ancient traditions. Humans had studied every recorded Council conflict and found them laughably inefficient. Show me the resource comparison, Marcus ordered. New displays revealed the true scope of humanity's achievement. In 80 years of exile, humans had built an industrial capacity that exceeded the entire Galactic Council. Their secret colonies produced more ships, weapons, and raw materials than civilizations that had existed for millennia. The Valorians have a total of 800 warships spread across their entire territory, Brooks reported. We have over 3,000 combat vessels in this sector alone, and most of our ships are faster and more heavily armed than anything they've ever built. The Nexri rely on automated defense platforms around their core worlds, Park added. Impressive technology, but completely useless against ships they can't detect. Our phase drives make us invisible to their sensors. Kane highlighted the most important difference on her displays. They build ships to last centuries, and they're proud of their craftsmanship. We build ships to win wars. Every human vessel can be replaced in weeks if necessary. Marcus studied the information with the cold calculation that had made him humanity's leader. What about their response time if we're discovered? Terrible, Kane replied immediately. Council bureaucracy requires committee approval for any military action. Even if they detected us tomorrow, it would take months for them to organize a response. And they would probably try diplomatic contact first. Which gives us how long to prepare? Best case scenario, if they discover us and immediately decide on military action, they could have a significant fleet assembled in 6 months. Worst case, they spend years debating what to do about us while we continue building. Marcus smiled grimly, and they still think we're safely locked away in our solar system. The irony was perfect. The Council had created the barrier to contain humanity, believing it would keep them trapped forever. Instead, it had given humans the perfect cover story for their expansion. Every Council species believed that humans were still imprisoned on Earth, completely cut off from the galaxy. Sir, Park said quietly, there's something else you should know. We've been monitoring Council communications for decades now. There are factions within their government that regret the decision to exile us. Explain. Some of the younger Council members believe the quarantine was too harsh. They proposed several times that humanity should be reevaluated for possible membership. Each time, the older species vote down the proposal. Kane understood the implications immediately. They think we've been suffering in isolation for 80 years. They have no idea we've been building an empire right under their noses. The guilt factor works in our favor, Marcus agreed. They'll be even more shocked when they discover what we've actually been doing. Kane pulled up the master strategic display, showing humanity's complete position in the galaxy. Hidden colonies, secret shipyards, and invisible supply lines formed a network that touched every major Council territory. Humans had become the galaxy's shadow civilization, present everywhere but seen nowhere. Admiral, Brooks said suddenly, we're receiving priority signals from Outer Rim scouts. Report. Council survey ship Harmony has detected unusual mineral extraction patterns in the Kepler sector. They're investigating. Kane felt her pulse quicken. After decades of perfect secrecy, this could be humanity's first discovery by Council forces. Which operation? The automated mining platform on Kepler 7. Small facility, Only a dozen humans on site. Marcus leaned forward on the communication display. Options. Kane considered quickly. We can evacuate the facility before they arrive and make it look like natural geological activity. Or we can let them find it and see how they react to discovering humans outside the barrier. There's a third option, Park said quietly. We could capture their survey ship, study their crew, their technology, their communication methods, learn everything about them before they have a chance to report back. The command center fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. For 80 years, humanity had remained hidden, building strength in secret. But eventually, they would have to reveal themselves to the galaxy. The question was whether that revelation would be on their terms or the Council's. Marcus made the decision with characteristic directness. Capture the ship, full intelligence extraction. But make sure there are no survivors to carry tales back to the Council. Understood, sir. Kane began issuing orders to her fleet commanders. After 8 decades of hiding, humanity was about to take its first direct action against the Galactic Council. It would not be the last. Admiral, Marcus said before closing communication, prepare for Phase 4. It's time to announce ourselves to the galaxy. The Council survey ship Harmony dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler system, its crew expecting another routine investigation of unusual sensor readings. Captain Vex of the Valerian fleet commanded the vessel, a proud warrior who had spent most of his career on peaceful exploration missions that bored him to tears. Sensors show mineral extraction signatures from the 7th planet, reported Science Officer Kala, her crystalline nexuary form pulsing with curiosity. The patterns are too regular to be natural geological activity. Vex studied the displays with growing interest. In 3 centuries of service, he had never encountered anything like this. The Kepler system was officially empty, marked in Council records as containing no habitable worlds and no valuable resources. Yet the sensor data clearly showed industrial activity on a scale that suggested permanent settlement. Could it be an unauthorized mining operation? Asked Navigator Zen, speaking for his entire Hive collective through their shared consciousness. Some species do operate outside Council oversight in remote systems. Impossible, Kala replied, her light patterns showing certainty. All 12 Council species are accounted for in nearby sectors. No one has the technology to operate in the system's hostile environment. Vex felt excitement building in his chest. After centuries of peaceful surveys and diplomatic missions, he might have finally found something worthy of a warrior's attention. Take us in for a closer look. Full scan of the 7th planet. The Harmony moved deeper into the system, its crew unaware that they were being watched by sensors far more advanced than anything the Council possessed. Admiral Kane observed their approach from the stealth ship Shadow, positioned just outside normal scanning range. They're scanning the mining platform directly, reported Lieutenant Brooks. Standard Council sensor sweep, nothing sophisticated. Kane studied the Council ship with predatory interest. After 8 decades of hiding, this would be humanity's first direct contact with their former captors. Signal the mining platform. Full evacuation to the backup site. Make it look like equipment failure. The human mining platform on Kepler 7 shut down its operations and activated emergency protocols. Workers evacuated through hidden tunnels while automated systems began erasing all traces of human presence. Within minutes, the facility appeared to be nothing more than abandoned machinery. But Vex was not easily fooled. His warrior instincts told him something was wrong even before his sensors confirmed it. The thermal signatures are all wrong, he announced his crew. This equipment was shut down recently, maybe within the last hour. That's impossible, Kala protested. We would have detected any ships leaving the system. Unless they have stealth technology we don't know about, Zen suggested through the Hive's collective voice. The word sent a chill through the bridge crew. Advanced stealth technology was theoretical at best for most Council species. Only the most cutting-edge research facilities had anything approaching true invisibility, and those systems were far too expensive and complex for use in remote mining operations. Begin detailed scans of the entire system, Vex ordered. If someone is hiding out here, I want to know who and how. Kane watched the Council ship's sensor sweeps with amusement. Their technology was impressive by galactic standards, but it was designed to detect ships using Council technology. Human vessels operating with dimensional phase drives were completely invisible to their scanning methods. "Admiral," Commander Park said quietly, "we could let them search for hours without finding anything. Their sensors can't detect our ships or colonies." "No," Kane replied. "This is our opportunity to test their capabilities and learn about their response procedures. Signal the fleet. Prepare for capture operation." The Shadow was not alone in the Kepler system. 36 human warships hung invisible in the void, their crews ready for action after decades of preparation. This would be their first real test against Council forces. Captain Vex was studying his sensor displays when the impossible happened. Ships began appearing around his vessel, as if materializing from empty space. First one, then 5, then dozens of vessels unlike anything in Council records. They were sleek and predatory, built for speed and firepower rather than the elegant curves favored by galactic civilization. "Raise shields," Vex shouted, but his crew was frozen in shock. The ships surrounding them were clearly advanced, clearly hostile, and clearly operated by someone with technology that exceeded anything the Council possessed. "Sir," Kala stammered, her crystalline form flickering with confusion, "these ships don't match any known design. The power signatures are completely unfamiliar." Admiral Kane opened a communication channel to the Council ship, speaking in perfect Valerian through translation systems that have been refined over decades of intercepting alien transmissions. "Captain Vex of the survey ship Harmony, you will surrender your vessel immediately. Any attempt to flee or fight will result in your destruction." Vex felt his warrior pride surge at the challenge, but he was not foolish enough to fight impossible odds. The ship surrounding him outgunned his survey vessel by ratios that made resistance suicide. "Who are you? By what authority do you make these demands?" Kane smiled coldly. "We are humans, Captain. You might remember us as the species your Council imprisoned 8 decades ago." The words hit the Council crew like physical blows. Humans were supposed to be trapped in their home system, cut off from all galactic contact. The idea that they had not only escaped but developed advanced military technology was beyond anything the Council had imagined possible. "Impossible," Kala whispered. "The barrier around your system is impenetrable. No ship can cross it." "Your barrier is still there," Kane confirmed. "We simply learned to go around it through dimensions you never knew existed. While you thought we were safely locked away, we've been building an empire in the shadows of your civilization." Vex tried to process the implications. If humans had escaped their quarantine and developed stealth technology, how long had they been free? How many systems had they colonized? How many Council territories had been infiltrated without anyone knowing? "Surrender your ship, Captain," Kane repeated. "Your crew will be treated according to the standards of civilized warfare, which is more consideration than your species showed us." The capture of the Harmony was swift and efficient. Human boarding parties secured the vessel within minutes, their technology and tactics overwhelming the unprepared Council crew. For Vex and his officers, it was a humbling demonstration of just how much they had underestimated the species they had dismissed as primitive savages. Kane interrogated the prisoners personally, learning everything about Council fleet movements, communication protocols, and military capabilities. What she discovered exceeded her most optimistic projections. The Council military was even weaker than human intelligence had suggested. "Your fleet deployment is a joke," Kane told Captain Vex during one interrogation session. 800 ships scattered across 3,000 systems? Most of them are transports and research vessels with token weapons. You have maybe 50 ships that could qualify as actual warships by our standards." Vex said nothing, but his expression showed the growing realization that his civilization was completely unprepared for war against an enemy that spent 8 decades preparing for exactly that conflict. "How many ships do you have?" Vex finally asked. Kane smiled. "More than you can imagine." The interrogations revealed the Council's greatest weakness, their complete dependence on outdated assumptions. They believed humans were still primitive and trapped. They assumed their technology was superior to anything a younger species could develop. Most importantly, they had no idea that their communications had been monitored and their territories infiltrated for decades. 3 weeks after the capture of the Harmony, the Galactic Council received a priority transmission that sent shockwaves through their ancient halls. The message was broadcast simultaneously to every major council world, ensuring that no one could suppress or control the information. Admiral Kate appeared on communication screens across the galaxy, speaking from a bridge of a ship that clearly outclassed anything in the Council fleet. Behind her, displays showed the captured Harmony and its crew, proof that the impossible had happened. Leaders of the Galactic Council, Kate began, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of menace that chilled alien listeners across 1,000 worlds. 83 years ago, you made a decision to imprison humanity within our home system. You called us too dangerous for your peaceful galaxy. You condemned our entire species to eternal exile without trial, without appeal, and without mercy. The camera pulled back to show the scope of the human fleet surrounding Kate's flagship. Hundreds of ships hung in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready. Each vessel was clearly designed for war, not exploration or commerce. You were right to fear us, Kate continued. But you were fools to think walls could contain us. While you believe we were safely locked away, we have been here all along, living in the spaces you consider worthless, thriving in conditions you could not survive, building an empire in the darkness between your stars. The transmission showed star charts with human colonies marked in red. The scope of human expansion was staggering, touching every sector of council space. Hundreds of systems thought to be empty revealed thriving human settlements. We gave you 8 decades to reconsider your decision, Kate said. Some among you proposed reevaluating humanity for possible membership in your civilization. Each time, you voted to maintain our exile. You had countless opportunities to choose a different path. The bridge displays changed to show tactical assessments of Council military capabilities compared to human forces. The numbers were devastating. Humanity had built a war machine that could sweep aside galactic civilization with terrifying ease. You now have a choice, Kate announced. Officially recognize human sovereignty over the territories we have claimed, grant us equal status in galactic governance, and agree to reparations for 8 decades of unjust imprisonment, or face the consequences of your decision to make an enemy of humanity. Elder Thane of the Valorians watched the transmission from the emergency council session on Prime, his scale face showing the horror of complete strategic failure. Around him, representatives of 12 species struggled to comprehend how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. How long do we have to decide? Asked the Nexury representative, her crystalline form dim with fear. Kate's smile was cold and predatory. You have 30 days to announce your decision. Choose wisely. You have seen what humanity can accomplish when we are united in purpose. Do not force us to demonstrate what we can destroy when we are united in anger. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council to face the reality that their ancient peace was over. The species they had tried to lock away had become the dominant military power in the galaxy, and now demanded justice for 8 decades of exile. War was coming to a civilization that had forgotten how to fight. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 28 days straight. In the Great Circular Chamber on Prime, representatives of 12 alien species argued with a desperation that would have been unthinkable just 1 month ago. The elegant halls that had once echoed with peaceful debate now rang with accusations, fear, and the bitter taste of impending war. Elder Thane of the Valorians stood at the center of the chamber, his scale face showing the weight of command he had never wanted. As the most militarily experienced species in the Council, the Valorians had been tasked with developing a response to humanity's ultimatum. The options were all terrible. The tactical analysis is complete, Thane announced to the assembled representatives. Our combined fleets total 843 vessels across all 12 species. Intelligence estimates suggest the humans have at least 3,000 ships, all of them purpose-built for warfare. The crystalline Nexury representative pulsed with dim light, her fear visible to all. Surely their ships cannot match our technology. We have had thousands of years to perfect our designs. Their ships are crude by our aesthetic standards, Thane admitted, but they are devastatingly effective. Every human vessel carries more firepower than our heaviest cruisers. They are faster, more maneuverable, and completely invisible to our sensors when they choose to be. The Hive Collective spoke with their unified voice, though even their perfect harmony seemed strained. What about our defensive installations? The orbital platforms around our core worlds? Thane's expression grew darker. Useless against enemies who can phase through dimensions. Human ships can appear inside our defensive perimeters without warning. They could strike our most protected worlds before we even knew they were under attack. Around the chamber, the reality of their situation settled like a death shroud. The Galactic Council, rulers of 1,000 worlds and shepherds of galactic peace for 10 millennia, faced complete military defeat at the hands of the species they had dismissed as primitive savages. There must be another option, pleaded the representative of the Harmony Coalition, a peaceful species that had not built a warship in 3,000 years. We can negotiate, offer them limited membership in the Council. They are not interested in limited anything, Thane replied. They want full recognition of their territorial claims, equal representation in Council governance, and reparations for 8 decades of exile. They are not asking for mercy. They are demanding justice. The chamber fell silent as representatives contemplated their choices. Surrender to human demands would shatter the power structure that had governed the galaxy since before most of their civilizations had achieved spaceflight. But the alternative was a war they could not win against an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for nearly a century. We vote for war, announced a Nexri representative suddenly. We cannot allow ourselves to be dictated to by a species we rightfully exiled. Our honor demands we fight. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, though they sounded more like the desperate bravado of the condemned than the confidence of warriors. Species after species voted for military action, driven more by pride than by any realistic hope of victory. Elder Thane watched the vote with the resignation of a soldier who had seen too many battles. When his time came to speak, his words carried the weight of absolute certainty. The Valorians vote for war. May whatever gods we believe in have mercy on our souls. The human response came within hours of the Council's declaration. No dramatic speeches or ultimatums this time, just swift and devastating action that demonstrated exactly why the galaxy should have feared them. Captain Ryan commanded the human battle fleet that struck at the Nexri core worlds. His ships emerged from dimensional phase space directly above the crystalline cities of their home planet, bypassing orbital defenses that had been designed to stop conventional attacks. The battle was over before it truly began. The Nexri defense platforms opened fire with weapons that could have destroyed entire asteroids, but they were shooting at empty space. Human ships phased in and out of normal dimensions, striking from impossible angles before vanishing again. When Nexri fighters launched to engage them, they found themselves fighting shadows that could appear and disappear at will. Target their population centers. Ryan ordered his fleet commanders. Demonstration strikes only. We want them to surrender, not die. The human weapons were precisely calibrated for psychological impact rather than maximum destruction. Energy beams carved perfect geometric patterns into the crystal spires that housed Nexri cities, spelling out human demands in letters large enough to be seen from orbit. The message was clear. We can destroy your civilization whenever we choose, so choose surrender instead. The Nexri home world capitulated within 6 hours. Their crystalline leaders, faced with weapons that could phase through their strongest defenses, formally withdrew from the Council war effort and accepted human territorial claims in their sector. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human fleets struck at target after target with coordinated precision that left Council forces reeling. The Hive Collective found their perfectly organized society paralyzed when human ships began appearing inside their most secure installations. The proud Valorians discovered that honor meant nothing against enemies who could strike from dimensions they couldn't even detect. Admiral Kane coordinated the campaign from her flagship above the Valorian military headquarters. The battle for their primary fleet base showcased everything that made human warfare terrifying to galactic civilization. "Sir," reported Commander Park, "Valorian fleet elements are moving to engage us in formation combat." Kane studied the tactical display, showing neat rows of Valorian warships approaching in perfect battle formation. Their movements were precise and beautiful, following combat doctrines refined over thousands of years of honorable warfare. They won a traditional fleet engagement, Kane observed with something approaching pity. Honor guard formations, formal challenges, single combat between champions. They're still trying to fight a war with rules. The human response was swift and merciless. Instead of meeting the Valerian fleet in honorable battle, human ships phased through their formation, striking from within their own ranks. Valerian captains found themselves under fire from ships that had materialized inside their defensive perimeters, targeting command centers and weapon systems with surgical precision. Sir, Captain Vex broadcast from his captured position aboard Kane's flagship, watching his own people being systematically dismantled. Please, this is not how civilized species conduct warfare. Kane turned to face the Valerian prisoner, her expression showing no mercy. You taught us that civilization is something earned, not given. You denied us the chance to be civilized. Now you face the consequences of that choice. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Valerian fleet was either destroyed or captured, their proud warriors reduced to prisoners begging for terms they had no power to negotiate. The final assault came at Prime itself, the ancient capital world where Galactic Council had ruled for 10,000 years. Admiral Kate led the attack personally, bringing the full weight of human vengeance down on the world that had condemned her species to exile. The orbital defenses around Prime were the most sophisticated in the galaxy, layered energy fields and automated weapons platforms that had protected the capital for millennia. They were useless against ships that could phase through dimensions, appearing directly above the planet's surface without ever crossing the defensive perimeter. Human vessels materialized above the council chambers themselves, their weapons trained on the building where humanity's fate had been decided 8 decades ago. The symbolism was lost on no one. Kate opened communication channels to every government building on the planet, her image appearing on screens throughout the capital. Leaders of the former Galactic Council, your fleets are destroyed, your defenses are broken, and your authority is ended. You will surrender unconditionally, or we will reduce your precious capital to rubble. Elder Thane stood in the ruins of the council chamber, surrounded by representatives who had watched their civilizations fall in a matter of weeks. The proud alien who had voted for war now faced the reality of absolute defeat. We surrender, Thane announced, his voice carrying across the galaxy through communication networks the humans now controlled. We accept all human demands and formally recognize the authority of the Terran Republic over former Council territories. The ceremony that followed was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Human ships filled the skies above Prime, while alien leaders signed documents that transferred power from the ancient council to humanity's representatives. The species that had once judged humans unworthy of galactic citizenship now knelt before human authority. Admiral Marcus, now an old man, but still carrying the fire that had driven humanity for nearly a century, stood before the assembled alien leaders. His words would be remembered for as long as galactic civilization endured. 83 years ago, you made a choice to imprison my species because you feared what we might become, Marcus said, his voice echoing through the chamber. You were right to fear us, but your fear made you weak, and your weakness made you vulnerable. The camera pulled back to show the scope of human victory. Ships filled the space around Prime, each one a testament to human determination and ingenuity. The species that had been locked away in exile now commanded the largest fleet in galactic history. We do not seek vengeance against your people, Marcus continued. We seek justice for ours. The galaxy will have a new order, one based not on the false peace of the weak, but on the true strength of those willing to fight for what they believe. He gestured to the human fleet above, their weapons still trained on the capital. You tried to cage us, but cages are only as strong as those who build them. We are human. We do not ask for permission. We take what we need, protect what we love, and never forget those who wronged us. The final image showed Earth's quarantine barrier being dismantled, not by council permission, but by human choice. As the energy field that had imprisoned humanity for 8 decades finally collapsed, ships began flowing outward from the Sol system, carrying colonists and supplies to the new territories that humanity now controlled. The Galactic Council was dead. In its place rose a Terran Republic, ruled not by committee but by the species that had proven themselves strongest when strength was needed most. The galaxy had a new master, and this one would never allow itself to be caged again. Marcus stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching human ships spread across the stars that had once been forbidden to them. "Welcome to our galaxy," he whispered to the void, and the universe listened.